You're listening to the Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage podcast. Chris and Johnna are parents of 3, life and business partners who share their personal development techniques so you can grow yourself and grow your marriage.
What's up, everyone? This is Chris and Johnna Farrow with the Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage podcast, and we are pumped to be here. This is a pilot, babe.
This is the pilot.
Let's do it.
All right.
I'm super pumped. So, guys, here's the deal, guys. Today, we want to share our mission with you. And really, the most important thing is this whole podcast is about you guys. It's about serving you. And we can't wait to kind of share with you what's in it for you to listen to the Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage podcast.
And you know what? If you're listening right now, which obviously you are because you hear our voice, then thank you. Out of all the podcasts out there, thank you for clicking on Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage. We're so excited. Like we already said, clearly we are pumped up. So let's tell them, babe, what the heck Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage is about.
Let's do it, man. Okay, so first off, something you guys should know is you're talking to a bunch of crazies. Honestly, you maybe have met people like us before, but maybe not. We're kind of that weird couple you read a story about, like, what? You quit your job? What? You shut your business down? What? You have 3 kids? You just bought a brand new house? What are you doing?
Yeah, we took the whole term leap of faith to another level because we did all that, guys. We'll get into the whole story of why, but we did. We shut it all down. We are all in right now with the Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage podcast, and we just are ready to make a difference, right? I mean, that's what this is all about. So I just want to tell you guys, you know what? We're ready. Like we're on a mission. Like we said, we're a little bit crazy. We want to create the life and marriage of our dreams. And we want to share that with as many of you as possible so that you can do the same. Our mission for this podcast is literally just to take all of the ways personal development has changed our lives and our marriage, because it has in like immense ways. And we just want to pour them out to you guys, right?
We know what it was like to not, to like really feel like broken and frustrated, and our communication was terrible. And it's just like we had a bunch of kids and we were, for a while we started to turn into roommates a little bit. And that is, now we know what it feels like to be there, and we know what it feels like to be where we're at. And we by no means have arrived, but we want to share the feeling that we have right now with others. And that has started with the concept of personal development.
If life is just not looking like what you expected it to, right? We all kind of had this expectation of the happily ever after. And I think most of us are real enough to know it wasn't always going to be perfect. But when people tell you marriage is hard and life is hard before you become an adult, you don't necessarily know what that hard looks like.
Right. Like we always say, you don't know until you know. Like you don't know what it's like to not hit REM sleep from the time your kid's born all the way to the time.
Well, we're going on 4 years now.
Exactly. Like you don't understand how the lack of sleep in your life can affect your level of patience, or the fact that you're not investing in yourself and really, really focusing on, yourself first thing in the morning to be able to, fill your cup enough to be able to pour out on your family.
Funny you should talk about filling up your cup, because that is one of the main things we focus on pretty much for this whole podcast. Do you want to tell them, babe?
Yeah. So there are 3 things that our podcast is centered around, one of which is filling up your cup first and the importance of that. And we can't wait to dive into that specific thing and give you tools so you can learn how to do it.
Yeah. And if you're like, wait a second, fill up my cup first. What are you talking about? There's an old saying that goes, you can't pour from an empty cup. And guys,
I wrote that.
No, you did not. Oh, he's lying. Guy, I got to tell you guys, like as a mom, especially, man, my cup was running on empty. So like this saying really resonates with me. You cannot pour from an empty cup, meaning we try to go and go and go and do for everybody. But y'all, once you're going to run out of steam, you're going to run out of whatever's in that cup. I don't know if it's coffee or if it's wine or what's in your cup, but you're going to run out. So we really, really believe in filling up your cup so that you can pour out onto your spouse and your kids. And
which leads us into the next point.
And then now
the next point is spouse over kids all day.
Oh,
buddy. That is a juicy topic. We understand, but spouse over kids, the power that takes place when we put our spouse over our kids is unlike anything we've seen.
Yeah. And what we mean when we say spouse over kids, we don't mean just kids. We mean spouse over everybody. When we signed up for marriage, we agreed that we were a team. It was we became one. And we think that should hold true even after we bring in these precious little human beings into the world. But we'll get into that.
And the third thing, guys, is we believe that we all have the ability to thrive through every season life throws at us. And that doesn't only include the one we're in now. If you're like us, it's in the trenches of kids and marriage, career, life, work balance, all that stuff. But it's also the inevitable things that are to come. The empty nest, the loss of loved ones. I mean, that is just real stuff. So how can we prepare ourselves now to thrive now and to thrive in the coming season?
Yeah. And yeah, that's what this is all about. So we want you to know, like, we've been there and we still have those days where you're miscommunicating and things just aren't connecting and you don't understand why you're frustrated and you don't ever feel like you're going to get it all done and you don't feel like you have time for yourself and you go to bed every night wondering like if you're screwing it all up for your kid or if your marriage is like going to work or, you know, we've been through all these ups and downs and we're on our way up right now, right? Like we are on a mission. We want to create the vision. And I think that's why we're just so excited about this platform because we've seen how much this personal development stuff has changed our lives and changed our marriage and how happy we are now. And we want other people to feel that way.
All right. So, you know what? Here's a common misconception about personal growth, self-development, whatever you want to call it. A lot of people are like, you know what? This is just something extra that's going to get in the way of my already busy life. This is something that maybe I feel like, you know, why am I focusing on myself? That's selfish. I have kids. I have a spouse, you know. Also, like, I don't know, this is just kind of a corny concept. I've never really seen, it just seems like it's just kind of corny and doesn't make much sense. And I'm too busy with my career. I'm too busy with life in general. So I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Here's the thing. When we say personal growth, all we're asking is, hey, how about we start improving specific areas of our life? And, oh yeah, let's just keep improving and not stop anytime soon. What's wrong with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to be this nonstop, you know, cult-like thing. It's just about doing better, taking care of yourself so you can show up for others in return. So it's like this full cycle. It is about you in the beginning, but it's for others too. So it's not selfish. It's actually incredibly selfless to invest in yourself because at the end of the day, we can't control what happens around us, right? But we can control how we handle it. So if you're in a difficult situation right now and you're like, okay, yeah, but how is improving myself really going to save my marriage? You know, you can't change what's going on with your spouse necessarily if you're in that place, but you can change how you view them and how you respond to them and how you take care of yourself and how you show up. And I promise you, it will make a difference.
Right. You know, simple things like if you start investing in yourself, if you start giving yourself time to kind of sit there and take a breather, and then maybe your spouse says something like really crappy, and instead of jumping the cuff, you're like, you know what? Let me just understand the intent,
yes.
Right? It's not like this person married me just to piss me off all the time, or just to be lazy and not do the things I asked them to do, or irritate the crap out of me. Like that's not what this is about, right? It's about understanding the intent of, you know, your spouse and how they talk to you, and it's about, you know, really coming to a place where you're obviously understanding, dude. I mean, stuff's gonna happen. Like stuff's gonna happen to throw you off kilter, to frustrate you. And if you're focusing on yourself and your self-development, you're gonna be able to handle those things a lot better.
That's actually something that's completely changed the way that I respond. And that's been a big game changer in our relationship, but in my relationship with other people is just looking at the intent, right? Life's always going to be busy, especially once you bring kids in the world and you've got your careers and life, right? Life's always going to be busy. So we tend to take out our frustrations on the people we care about the most. And when you're not focused on, you know, who your spouse is at their core, and you're just hearing the negative, or you're just hearing what they're not saying, right? Or you're snapping at each other, it's easy to take that to a whole nother level and you know, go to bed angry and get into that place where you're not communicating well at all, or not communicating at all. But if you can look back and like really reflect on who your spouse is and see their intent behind it, like Chris said, like sometimes we'll snap at each other because, you know, we've got 3 kids, they're 4 and under. They'll all be crying at once, and it'll just really make the mood in the house kind of like on edge. And so sometimes we'll snap at each other. And in the past, it would probably blow up into a bigger fight because, you know, why are you snapping at me? Why are you talking to me like that? And now it's more like, okay, wait, pause. Like, we know that we're just frustrated right now. This isn't about each other. It's about the situation, you know, like we can see each other's intent. I'm not saying that to hurt Chris, or he's not saying that to intentionally upset me. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it really, I think that's been one of the biggest needle movers in our relationship, is looking at it that way.
It's been huge for us to really just understand, okay, like, all right, I know she's not trying to take me off right now. I know he's not trying to take me off. Let's just take it slow. There have been so many times where the kids are all crying at the exact same time, tugging on Johnna because she controls their every emotion. And,
well,
you know,
you say that because they're obsessed with me, not because I actually like puppeteer them.
Right. They are obsessed with her, and I'm just dad, so I'm chopped liver. A lot of dads know what that's like. Right. So the thing is, all this stuff's going on. Maybe I'm trying to tell her something. We're trying to talk about something important. Maybe it's business related, whatever it is. And the kids are just going absolutely berserk. And so we're snapping at each other, right? She's going to take her frustration out on me. I'm going to take my frustration out on her. And there's times now where it's like, nope, pause, no, forget it. Like, stop. Like, okay, take a breath. You shut up. I'll shut up. Let's get the kids figured out. And then we can finally communicate and be like, all right, look, I wasn't trying to make you mad. Like, it was literally just absolute chaos and the kids were going nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot better at that. So we want you to be able to do that. Another thing is that makes, you know, when people think that self-development is selfish, I already touched on it a little bit, but it's actually truly selfless. It's given me so much more patience for our girls, for me to wake up and spend that time investing in myself and just, like I said, learn to be more self-aware and just be in a more positive mindset. More of a state of gratitude really changes how I look at them when they are freaking out. Not to say I don't still lose my mind sometimes, but it's gotten so much better. It gives you more mental clarity. Like we said, it helps you understand your spouse better. And really just helps you to be, you know, the best version of yourself.
So you guys might be wondering, okay, cool. Here's your mission. Great. You're sharing some things that have happened in your life that are impactful. How'd you get here? Right? How did you get here? Why'd you guys make these moves? And so we want to share that story with you guys a little bit. So to take it back, I was running a successful fitness business. Things were going good. We were making the money we wanted to make. Johnna was at home with the kids. On Facebook, on Instagram, you could see our life was looking pretty good, right? Okay, cool. They have the things they need. They have a beautiful family. You know, they're helping people with the fitness business. But here's what was really going on behind the scenes. Dad was disconnected because he was going 15 hours a day plus. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you know, you give up working 40 hours for someone else to work 80 hours for yourself. And John and I weren't communicating. We didn't have time but to like high five. It was amazing we made 3 babies actually because we didn't have time to do more than just like a little high five in the hallway. It was just crazy. Our life was absolutely 100% revolved around our kids and our business. But for me, it was my business. And for Johnna, it was the kids. And so I wasn't connecting with the kids. John and I weren't connecting with each other.
I had no idea what was going on in the business because by the time he got home, I did not care.
Yeah. Exactly. Like she had no idea what was up with the business, and it was just frustrating. We're like, what is this life? Are we supposed to just kind of grow up, grow apart, be roommates, look cool on Facebook and Instagram and social and all that stuff, and it not really be true? Like, what's the answer? And
not get to know each other until after the kids are gone. It didn't feel right. It was definitely like what I was saying earlier, like, is this what life is supposed to look like? Because this is not, I mean, I'm blessed, right? We felt grateful for the things we had, but like a big chunk was missing. There was no fulfillment or joy.
Yeah, well, we felt grateful, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, you know what? Like, we're kind of shooting for what the world wants of us. We're shooting to make money, and we're shooting to, you know, help other people with the fitness business and raise our kids. But I think the big thing now is I actually sat down in front of my computer one day in a coffee shop and I was like, man, okay, business is making money, but I'm exhausted. Johnna's exhausted. We're just not on the same page. And I was like, hey, God, like, I've been doing this fitness thing for 10 years, but if you want me to do something different, you just let me know. And I'm not kidding, guys. It was like a week, right? Things started to happen that were really showing me signs like, okay, I'm way more burnt out than I should be. I'm frustrated. Johnna's frustrated. It's getting worse. And then all of a sudden, I opened my computer back up a week later, and I just started typing nonstop, like 10 straight lines. Close the business, close the business, close the business. And I was like, what am I doing? What am I talking about? Same day, me and Johnna jump on the phone, and what happens?
Literally, we were on the phone that day. I don't even know what I had going on, but I'll never forget the conversation where we were just talking about like, man, what is life right now? This is whatever. And I told Chris, I was like, I know this is crazy, but in my prayers this morning, for some reason, I feel like you're going to close the business down. And Chris, I don't know, you probably like dropped the phone. You're like, wait, what? Because we had not talked about it. I had no idea. I mean, I knew Chris was tired and burnt out. I had no idea that he had been thinking about closing the business down. And for some reason, I just like blabbed that out. I didn't know where it was coming from. I was like, I feel like you're supposed to shut the business down.
Yeah. And that day during my typing, I didn't only say, close the business. I started saying 3 months, 3 months, 3 months. And that same phone call that day, but we hadn't communicated all day long. She was at home. I was at work. She's like, I don't know. Like, it's almost like 3 months and we're going to be done.
And yeah, it was literally one of the most mind-blowing conversations because it came from nowhere. We had no discussion prior to even thinking that this was the direction our lives were going. I had been doing personal development and prayer journaling for a while. So I knew I was looking for something, right? Like I turned 30 in September and I was just like, I got to find my purpose. I know I'm supposed to be doing more. So I knew I was looking for something, but honestly, at the time it didn't feel possible because of how invested Chris had to be in the fitness studio. So when we had this conversation, it was literally just like this spark of like something big's on the horizon here.
And then Johnna and I started finding these tools and all these personal development books. We started to implement the exact same tools we're going to share with you guys in the coming episodes. And they were game changers, weren't they?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, they completely changed the way we interact in our marriage and the things we do to be intentional about taking care of ourselves and in taking care of our marriage. So yeah, #game changers.
And here's the funny thing. So if this already wasn't a God thing enough, so we set a hard date to shut down my business. And I'm not kidding, guys. I didn't find work until 2 weeks before we closed. Talk about an anxious, ridiculous mess because I'm a planner by nature. I'm not some willy-nilly guy who's just like, oh yeah, let me just start a business and help people and let me just do this and let me do that. I mean, I left an industry I was in for 10 years. I was successful in. People knew I had the ability to help them in. And I literally set a hard date to close the business because we knew this is what we're supposed to do. And I didn't find work until those last 2 weeks.
And I know you're probably thinking, okay, but guys, normal people can't just do this. What about security for your family? What about insurance? What about benefits? What about, a paycheck? And while all those things are obviously important, that's how strongly we knew this is what we were supposed to do. And we figured this, guys, if we don't take this leap of faith now, one day we're going to turn around and look back at our lives and be like, hey, remember that one time that we really felt strongly we were supposed to do that? What if we would have done that? What if we would have moved forward with what we thought we were being called to do? So at the end of the day, we don't have to look back and say, what if? We're doing this. And it's not just the podcast. What Chris is talking about, like completely morphed into other career choices as well that kind of go along with it. And for me, I'm now a personal development coach. That's how wrapped up I am in this personal development stuff.
And let me say this. You woke up at 4 a.m. and put 100 hours of training in to become what you're becoming.
I did. And I got to credit a lot of that back to Hal Elrod with his Miracle Equation book. That's another one we're going to link because it was a game changer again. Gosh, we have so many books that we want to tell you guys about. That's another one, though. I committed to a Miracle Equation of becoming certified as a coach within a pretty short amount of time. It felt very unrealistic with the way our life was and starting a podcast and having the kids and all that stuff. So yeah, I was getting up at 4 a.m. every day, regardless of how much sleep I got, to put it in. And so now I'm a coach, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And for me, I love business. I love building business. I love structure, format, everything. And I am a strategic consultant where I'm helping experts kind of extract knowledge from their brain, build masterminds, build coaching groups, all those things, because I was a part of so many. And I knew like, oh, wow, I would like to see this. I would like to see that. And I don't know, I have kind of a little bit of a gift to be able to take things that are already in people's heads and pull it out on paper and help them solve problems. So that's what I'm doing. I got work locked up and I'm spending a lot of time on that in addition to this podcast. So we're not totally crazy, like living off of rice and beans doing nothing.
Although maybe we should be. No, I got to say, though, Chris has a genius about him that we didn't know about because he was so wrapped up in the fitness world. But babe, I got to give it to you. You really do have this ability to just pull the best out of people. Chris can see through the negative or the broken and everything in all aspects of life and kind of pull out the good. So,
well, I'll take it. Thanks, babe.
Well, that's true.
Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, so, we've implemented these things. We're walking the walk. We are taking that risk. But the biggest thing is like, if we didn't have people that had a need for this, we wouldn't be doing this, right? This is important to us. And at the end of the day, we want to help you. We want to take you wherever you're at and move the needle in your life. And maybe things are going great, but you're looking for growth, or maybe, you're rock bottom right now. But regardless, our rock bottom has now become a place where we feel elevated and we're ready to take you there.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter where you're starting at right now. It just matters that you start, because whether you're in a good place or, like Chris said, you're at rock bottom, this is going to help you if you'll let it.
In my personal growth journey, when I was waking up early and journaling and doing the things I wanted to do, these were my prayers and these were the conversations we started to have. We started to make time for these conversations. And then Johnna was doing her personal development, and it just seemed like I was seeing her in a different light. I was like, man, she's like dominating right now. She's like super mom. She's taking care of the kids, and then she's, waking up early and she's journaling and she's reading, self-development material. And it's just like she's changing, I started to see this huge shift in her, and she started to see a shift in me.
Well, and just to add to that, a little backstory. Thanks for the kind words, honey. You're making me a little emotional over here.
I can.
But prior to me jumping into personal development, the reason why Chris saw such a drastic change is I was really in a dark time of my life. I was in a deep state of postpartum depression. And I know that's kind of like taboo to talk about. And I think I'm so thankful to the people out there that are shining more light on mental health awareness, because it is a real thing. And I was suffering from it. And that's how I got started in this process, because I was like, God, there has got to be a different way. I should not have to live like this. I should not have to feel like this. I want more joy and fulfillment in my life. And so that's why I started. And he saw the difference in me. I saw the difference in him. And we decided, because we have 3 kids, we did not get to conversate. We were going to take a weekend away to the mountains. And that is where God showed up even more with answers for us that almost quite literally said, y'all need to start a podcast, which was really weird, because it's like, I don't know. You hear that, you're like, wait, God told you to start a podcast? It sounds weird. But he
told us to shut down a successful business, to work from home, start a podcast. And we had just bought a brand new house and we had 3 babies, and they're all unreasonable at the exact same time. So there's no way to just really get away and be focused. It's not like we were going to get more sleep. And we're just like, whoa, hang on. Wait, you said what? And I don't know. I mean, I've been in the church all my life, but I'd never heard such an obvious or felt such an obvious pull to what we're doing now. And man, it's like when we made that decision, I wish we could say that it was like, oh, great, everything was perfect from then on, and life was good. But we've hit a lot of hurdles in starting this podcast.
Yeah, like thinking maybe it was going to be on parenthood, because we had implemented a few systems in our life, and then we get home from the mountains, and I'm not kidding, it was like all the crap hit the fan. The kids were out of control. And we just like
we were about to call 911.
We were like
all right, maybe we're not going to do a podcast on hacking parenthood is what we were going to call it. If anyone wants to steal it, go for it, because we sure as heck haven't done that.
No, we literally sat on the floor and looked at each other like, are we sure we heard what we heard?
Right.
So then it morphed into marriage, but like, we have a great marriage, but we're not where we want to be. We've been married for 6 years. We're like, that's laughable, right? Like, other people are going to be like, oh, okay, cool. You guys have been married for less than a decade and you're going to tell us all about how to be married.
Yeah, no.
But then we realized what's something we just really love, what's really working in our lives, like beyond anything. And it's personal growth. Like,
well, it's personal growth and we're freaking disciplined.
Yeah.
We're disciplined.
And you have to be to be successful. But yeah, that's something like, okay, yes, we're good parents and yes, we have a good marriage, but we still have a lot to learn in both of those areas. But personal growth, even though it hasn't been in my life for as long as Chris is, like, it is a game changer.
Well,
and
let me just quickly say, personal growth took me from a kid who had a 1.3 GPA in high school, who wasn't about to graduate, who, got another lease on life and then was on the dean's list in college and, really, really overcame a lot of adversity just because I started focusing on myself and what I was tolerating in my life. And those changes caused me to open up my own business and make the money I wanted to make and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, there's really something to this. And at first, Johnna was like not about it at all. She was frustrated.
Well, let's be fair here. You were working crazy long days and then you would come home and I would be so stressed out. Shout out to all the stay-at-home moms out there. We all know what it's like to be home all day with your kids. But, Chris was leaving at 5 a.m., getting home at 7:30. And so by the time he got home, when he wanted to listen to a podcast or when he wanted to tell me about this personal development book he was reading, I'm just like, shut up and change a diaper. Like,
exactly.
I don't have any interest in that.
I'd get to go away to a nice place like Vegas or something cool, or Florida or something, and go to a cool conference. And, she wasn't.
I was salty.
Yeah, she was salty.
But like, here's what it is. I was happy for you, but like, I was so in my own head and sad for myself because I was just a mom. And now hear me when I say just a mom. Like, it's the most important job in the world. I really, truly believe that. But I knew that I had other gifts and other things I wanted to do with my life. And I just didn't know where that fit yet. So I was like a total hater on Chris for getting to go and like do things for himself. I'm like, what is it like to be on an airplane by yourself and be in a hotel room by yourself? Like, if you are a mom, you are shaking your head with me right now because you're like, wait, what? I cannot even imagine the joy.
Our show's going to explode and we're just going to give away luxurious trips to moms.
Oh my gosh.
Bam.
Dude,
keep listening,
keep
guys.
listening because that's like totally a goal for me. Like, all I want to do is take care of the mamas out there because I know how hard it is,
And I got to say, I used to downplay the whole stay-at-home mom life.
Or just mom
thinking
life in general.
What? I'm waking up at freaking 3:30 and she's getting to take naps with the kids. And I'm not going to lie, the time I've been home, I'm like, holy, I'd rather run 2 businesses. And no, way harder to run a family than it is to run my businesses.
Yeah. So shout out to all my moms out there. If you can do anything, try to get your husband to take off a couple of days and you go away with your girls. I know this is impossible for most of us, but if you can, if your husband can step into your shoes for just a couple of days, I think it changes the tables a little bit. If I picked up a part-time job actually back then just to get out of the house. And Chris really started to learn about what I
was feeling the burn,
did
baby.
Every single day, day in, day out. It's easy when you're listening to somebody who seemingly is like where they want to be right now and just kind of think, okay, but you don't know my story. And I get it. All of our stories are different. But I promise you, I was there. I was down. I didn't see how I could make time for myself. I didn't believe that anything could or would change. And it has. And it really, a huge part of it is attributed to the time I've spent investing in taking care of my mental health. I mean, my physical health and stuff too, but really my mental health and self-care. But, can we rewind and tell them about the vision, the dream document? Because that's just such a cool.
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2018, I opened up my computer and Johnna was in a really dark place with the postpartum. And I was reading a great book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And
love that book. Highly recommend.
Yeah. And in it, there was an exercise that said like, hey, what if you could accomplish anything in your life, guaranteed, with no self-limiting beliefs, what would it be? And I was like, you know what? I'll play along. I don't want to force productivity today. Let's do it. So I pull out this document and I start just typing, dreaming big as hard as I could. Like the end goal would, just be massive impact on the world. And here's what I want for our girls, and here's what I want for our lives. And so it was like 8 pages or something like that. I wanted to share it with Johnna. I was excited about it, but I knew she wasn't in a place where we could really talk about it. So fast forward, we are at we are in Tennessee at our weekend getaway. And what happened?
This is what makes the story crazy is, so Chris did that back in 2018. We're in Tennessee in 2019. And we're like, okay, let's just start at the end of our lives and work our way backwards. Reverse engineering is like how we do everything now. So Chris is like, okay, what would you want, Johnna? What do you want? What do you, we're at the end of our lives. What do you see for our lives? So I just start, same thing, dreaming, verbalizing everything that would just make me so happy to fulfill our lives, right? And then I was like, we should write this down. And Chris goes, oh, actually, I did this dream document thing back a while ago. Let's pull that up and you can use that as your format. You guys, when we read this document, it was almost word for word what I had just verbalized. And remember, I had not read this before. So the emotion that we felt reading that, just like God being like, look, y'all have the same vision here. This is great. Now go do it. And over again in that was shut the business down, start a couples podcast. And Chris even like predicted basically to a T when we would start the podcast. And at the time he wrote that, he had no idea we would ever start a podcast. He had no idea I was going to heal from postpartum and get into personal development.
What I said in it was Johnna would begin to find answers for, these feelings of depression and frustration in her life. And we would be able to take the experiences she's had, the tough things she's gone through in her life, and share it with the world and be able to use it as a way to help others realize, hey, you can get through this stuff too. And now that's where we're at. I mean, feeling great and investing in yourself and really on fire. And I mean, we can honestly say like, hey, we're actually living our calling.
And so the whole reason we tell you that whole story is just so you understand how serious we are about this mission and that we truly believe it's our calling. And we're so excited, guys. We're excited to live this out, but we're even more excited to share it with you. And we really hope you'll continue listening and take all these tools that we're going to give you. Yeah. What are they going to get every week, babe?
Yeah, man. I mean, so a lot of people, okay, cool, nice story. That's really cool. So, I mean, what's in it for me here? And we mentioned the improvements that we've made, but here's the way it's happened, right? Instead of you taking your time to read all these self-development books, which, hey, we definitely recommend, we've done it for you. And we're taking out these golden nuggets and we're taking the tools that, we have learned from different experts and things. And now we're breaking it down into bite-sized chunks and we're applying it to busy married parent life. Because some of those things feel so overwhelming, right? So what does that look like? So our podcast is designed to drive home a concept. And then we're going to provide you a 10-minute tool to directly apply the concept to your life.
But one important thing to note is we'll only have an episode with the 10-minute tool when it's applicable to what we're talking about. Or, maybe every now and then there'll be a random one just because we find the tool gold. And overall, all of them will be growth oriented. So,
right. Because the reason we don't want to do the 10-minute tool every single time is because, guys, we understand busy parent life and we don't want to put you in a position where you're going to feel overwhelmed. We believe that growth is best, at a steady pace, not overwhelming. You have a lot on your plate. So the 10-minute tool is going to come after the concepts, but yes, babe, good point on that. So I think it's also important to kind of talk about our styles here. Honestly, our big thing is, and you'll learn this, is I'm super blunt. I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm always going to tell the truth no matter
He's blunt with love,
how bad it hurts, right? And John's going to, kind of bring it back down and make it a little nicer, but still say the same thing.
True.
But the big thing is, we're not going to fluff this stuff up. Life is freaking hard, but we know that the tools we have to share based on the effort we've put in and the development and all those things can 100% move the needle in your life.
100%. And here's the thing, like Chris said, life is hard, but if you chose your spouse, right? If you guys are married, then you chose each other. You chose to be a team. Let us help you be a team, a real team, because you're going to face adversity. It's going to come whether you like it or not, whether you're communicating well or not. But at least if you're in a good place and you're working as a team and it's you guys against the world, right? Like it makes all the difference. It really does. So, and just to touch on what he said too, what makes this whole thing unique is you can listen to all the personal growth gurus out there that don't have a spouse or kids, right? And you hear them and like Chris said, it's overwhelming. Like I remember listening like, okay, cool, Tony, but you're able to travel. You don't have a bunch of little kids that rely on you.
Some of them say things like, read a book a day and you'll be a millionaire. It's like, dude, shut up. I can't manage my book of clients at the studio.
Do not tell him to shut up.
I'm not gonna freaking a book a day. You kidding me?
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. So that's the whole thing here. Like our goal is to take, we are busy. We have 3 kids. 2 of them still don't sleep through the freaking night. Like we get that busy married parent life that you're like, okay, cool. I can't fit any more into my day, but we're going to teach you how. We're going to help you get through this. And you just got to listen. The show's for you if you're ready for a more efficient, more passionate, more fulfilled and communicative life.
Yeah. And here comes blunt Chris. If you're ready to take responsibility, if you're ready to say, okay, yes, there are 2 of us in a marriage and yes, I have my spouse and I have my kids. But if you're ready to say, I'm willing to have a big enough growth mindset that I'm going to take responsibility for everything that happens, right? And then that attitude and the way I handle things is going to reflect, and my spouse is going to see it and my kids are going to see it. And I'm going to become the best version of myself no matter what. And I'm going to be able to handle all the adversity that comes our way because I'm building a strong mind, body, and spirit for whatever comes our way in our life. And hopefully that begins to reflect on your spouse.
Amen, babe. I couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah, so that's it, guys. But man, it's important to us. We're passionate about it. This is what we do now. So we're excited for you to go along the journey with us. We just dropped episode 2 and episode 3. All right. These are game changers. So we'd love for you to head over to the next episode where the first thing we're going to talk about is, man, identifying what is going right and what is going wrong in your life. And this one is a game changer. And the tool to follow is even more powerful. So head on over, guys. We can't wait to see you there.
Well, talk to you there.
Whatever it is.
And guys, if you liked this, please head over and share it, subscribe, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Grow Yourself, Grow Your Marriage. We know it's an incredibly long name, but go do it. We're going to share more tips there and show you what life is like with these crazy little people that we call our children. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.